to our meeting. And I believe we have Clive. Oh, I'm sorry, yes. Do I have a motion to reconvene?
So moved.
We have a motion, we have a second. Second, any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, the motion carries. We also have a motion to certify that the only information we discussed in closed session was personnel.
So moved.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All that opposed, the motion carries. Now, I believe we have a guest of honor. Is that right? Clive, good to see you. Would you please? Yes. Pledge. All please stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Clive. All right, next up we have our consent agenda. Minutes from our last regular meeting in August. You all had an opportunity to review those. We have a motion to consider approving our consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? Second. We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. All that opposed, the motion carries. Next up, Dr. Frazier, we have some recognitions.
Good evening, everyone. We do have several recognitions for tonight, and so we will start with Suicide Prevention Week. This month we celebrated Suicide Prevention Week. We also celebrated Constitution Day, Hispanic Heritage Month, Civics Education Week, National Voter Registration Day, Custodian Maintenance Appreciation Week will be at the end of the month. We also have observed Attendance Awareness Month and National School Success Month. And at this time, I will ask Ms. Britt to come to the podium, and she will introduce her Student of the Month and also her Staff of the Month, followed by Ms. Bird, who will also present her Student and Staff of the Month.
Good evening.
So we are glad to say that we have our September Student of the Month is Lucy Vincent, and her teachers report that she is kind, she's competitive yet fair, and she always puts forth her best effort. Our Teacher of the Month is Miss Bianca Gresham, and her peers report that she gives it her all. She's an outstanding collaborative teacher and is always looking for innovative ways to reach her students. She meets kids where they are and strives for continued growth. She works hard as a contributing member to the 3rd grade team, as well as serves as the team lead. After hours, she coaches basketball in the community and works to build community relationships.
Very good. So at the middle and high school, we'll be doing our Staff Member of the Month in 2 more weeks. But for our Students of the Month, we've instituted sort of a new process using our positive referral system. We've asked teachers to refer students for the positive traits that we're looking for, because very often our students who are doing things well don't get recognized. So I have to date, in 4 weeks of school, received 38 positive referrals. And I make a phone call home and let parents know that they're sending just great kids to school. So from that stack, we choose Students of the Month. So from the middle school, we have 2 so far. Michael Rout, and Michael's teachers describe him as kind and respectful, attentive, and polite. Also, we have Bill Lohr, who's described by his teachers as respectful, kind, a great team player, always eager to help, uplifting, and encouraging. And from the high school, we have Elijah Atkins, whose teachers say he has great teamwork. And without being prompted, the week that he was referred, he was collecting work for a friend who was out of school, so the friend didn't fall behind in his work and was taking care of business for a friend. Also, we have Colvin Hilton, who is described as respectful, kind, always willing to participate and answer questions, and is just an extremely kind and respectful young man. So those are our students so far this month.
Thank you.
Those are all the recognitions that we have for the month.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Frazier. Next up is Britt. I believe we have a presentation at the elementary school.
So I would like to introduce our school counselor, Denise McHouston. She is new to West Point, but it'll be evident in her presentation that she's a veteran to school counseling. And she will be presenting on some of the wonderful things that she's going to be doing with our littles this year. Mr. Leach is our, are we good with this? Me too.
May I bring something for you guys? Of course, I'm working in an elementary school now, so I have to have show and tell. Please enjoy. All right, so as a school counselor, we use the multi-tiered system of supports, just like teachers do. And there's the tier 1 all the way up to tier 3. Most of our time is spent in tier 1, and I'm gonna show you a little bit about what I'm gonna be doing for each tier. So this is just an overview. The parents or the programs and parent participation that I am doing this year. We have the sensory calm down room. I changed it around on my thing. Prevention, communication, individual minute meetings that I'm having with the children, every single student in the school. Calm down kits for each classroom. It's one of the things that you have there. Classroom guidance lessons, small group lessons, individual counseling, and then the weekly parent communication via the newsletter. So now I'm just going to show you a little bit about each thing in particular. So, prevention, communication, it's the individual minute meetings. So far, I've met with 42 children, and it's been absolutely adorable. I have a form, and it translates over to a sheet, Google Sheet, that I will share with staff, because a lot of the information in there is really valuable for teachers to know. Some of the questions I ask are, how is your year going? Do you have a best friend or a good friend? Do you know of anybody who needs a friend? And there's a bunch of other questions in there, but the last question is, what is one thing you would like your teachers to know about you? And I've had the most adorable responses from these children. I've had children say, well, I think my teachers should know that I am very good at public speaking. This was a second grader, you guys. And he was like, I get the devotional at church almost every Sunday. And I was like, that's amazing. Absolutely incredible. And he was like, thank you. Then, other children were like, I love to sing, I love to dance. And this one little boy comes in and he says, yes, there's something I would like the teachers to know. And I said, okay, what's that? He's like, that I love them as much as they love me. And I'm like, you just can't get, I'm like literally trying not to cry. The next day I go up to Christy and I'm like, do you hug? And she's like, yes. I was like, thank you for this job. I love this place. So the classroom calm down kits, we have a sensory room, but it's not always feasible, and we want the children to stay in the classroom. So I've been making these calm down kits for the classroom so that if children need something to help them, get back into their prefrontal cortex with their thinking brain, they can do it right there in the classroom. That way they can still be attending, listening to what's going on, even if they're using a manipulative. In counseling, we use I'll use the 4 senses because I'm not feeding the children. But that's what re-engages the prefrontal cortex. When the prefrontal cortex stops working, it's the amygdala that takes over, fight, flight, or freeze. Sound, scent, those things are what re-engages the prefrontal cortex. The child can start learning again. And so the faster we can do that, the better it is for their educational opportunities. So that's why we have classroom calm down kits as well. But sometimes it just goes too far. Sometimes the child is so deep in that fight, flight, or freeze that, you know, just handing them a little toy or a tool to use is not enough. So we have the calm down room, the sensory room. And I don't know what it used to look like because when I got here it was empty. They painted it and everything is amazing. So this is what it looks like now. And the whole room is devoted to what do you see? What can I touch? What can I hear? What can I smell? I had a lot of donations for the room and was given the opportunity to get a lot of things so that it would be well-rounded. And about once or twice a week, I go in there and I change things out so that, you know, if a child comes back in after they've been in the day before, it's different. And I'll display something of each item, like there'll be something that's a smell, something that's a touch. I made homemade green sticks. And so they'll sit there and just, you know, play with that and listen to it, and it does. So that way, and there's timers in fact at the door so that if it's really bad, 10 minutes. If it's not so bad, 5 minutes. When the 5 minutes is up, and which is another visual cue, time to go back to class. So then I have my classroom guidance lessons, and the book that I sent around has just the first few lessons in it. This month I'm working on, you know, our happy school family, and I actually was in Miss Gresham's class today, and it was really fun. The kids were adorable, and we read stories, and we actually listened to happy songs and dance to it, and it was really fun. And you know, so that's what classroom guidance is. It's a tier 1 intervention. It's what I do for all of the kids, and it is once a month in every classroom. Depending on how groups go, I might increase it to twice a month, but you'll see there's a lot of kids that have signed up for groups. So I need to make sure I get up to all those children. So speaking of small group counseling, I sent out a Google form. Again, I like how it translates over to a sheet that I can read. And I sent it out to the teachers the first week of school to let them have a chance to recommend children for certain types of groups. Then I emailed it out to parents, and I've had over 70 parents now respond, recommending their children for a minimum of 2, upwards of 7 or 8 of my groups, and which is really, really neat. The response has been absolutely fabulous. And then I had over 80 students recommended by teachers as well. I'm going to be very busy with small group counseling, which is good because it's important. Groups will begin the first week of October. So for the last couple of weeks, as I've been getting all of the names, I've been sorting them, sheets, homerooms, teachers, grades. If their parents marked that they wanted them, then I've been emailing parents and getting their responses saying whether or not they would approve having their children be in the groups that the teachers recommended. And I've had absolute positive results with all of that. It's been overwhelming, the support from the community and the parents. It's been wonderful. Each group will meet 1 time a week during lunch. That was actually one parent's concern, you know, are they going to be taken out of class test? Absolutely not. And then there's always, because there's so many children, After School Academy will be utilizing that as well for groups. Individual counseling is a tier 3, and that is when children are feeling anxious. You know, when it's not just something, they actually need somebody to talk to, not just re-engaging the brain, but they need to talk to somebody. And I've had multiple children already this year, not for consistent counseling, but it's my philosophy, it's the philosophy that I was trained on is I believe in solution-focused counseling. The children come in, we talk about what's going on, we find a solution to help them so that they can be, you know, get back to the classroom, because the problem is if they're out of the classroom for a long period of time or often, then they get behind in class, and then that just further exacerbates their stress levels. So solution-focused counseling, help them, get them back, give them tools if necessary. I've got extra of the tools that are in the Calm Down Kit that I give to children individually so that they can keep it and use that tool when they are stressed out. I also have a packet that I created years ago that is for referrals to outside agencies where, you know, like I have it printed out so the parents don't have to Google it themselves, where they can go and find outside counseling if necessary. So that's it. Do you guys have any questions?
I mean, it sounds really good, and the only question I have is, do you do any breathing exercises?
Oh gosh, yes. In fact, I've got them posted all over the Calm Down room and my office. And we've got those really cool balls that grow bigger and smaller. So I do that with the kids along. Like, okay, let's inflate the lungs. Blow it up. And then there's 5-finger breathing, balloon breathing, all of those kinds of techniques that I share with the children and work through those as well. So a whole bunch of different kinds of coping techniques. So we definitely need it. Thank you for the question.
Well, this is amazing. I think for children to learn how to handle these situations at a young age and sets them up to be successful when they get older. And I made a note about you're just so joyful. Like you exude joyfulness. Like I would totally come to you if I was having a bad day. Like, can you come to work with me? That's the next question. But I mean, that's great because we want our kids to feel that, especially if they're in a state of not feeling well, you know? So I just wanted to give you kudos for being joyful. So thank you.
I've
Thank you for all
had
you're
a lot
doing.
of visitors. They like to come in, step on the tiles, play with my kinetic sand, and just sit there and talk to me as we play together in the sandbox. And
That's good.
they're really cute.
That's great. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Houston. It's important work, and we know that it's increasingly important work for our kids, that they need more help, and we're happy to have you. Glad you're here.
Yeah, I appreciate that you said that because, you know, COVID, the isolation and everything took, I'm like a big fan of Erik Erikson's psychosocial development. And if you arrest that development at any place along the way, a child can't move on appropriately. And so we are now trying to fix that trust versus mistrust that occurred during that time, that inferiority versus, you know, all of those things. And so the small groups, the counseling and everything like that really does help children to be able to repair those hearts that were damaged because of the isolation and everything. So thank you.
Great, thank you. Next up, the gifted program. We're all making calm down kids.
Yeah, we all.
There you go.
I can give you a list.
Okay. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. So, the gifted update, we still have Mrs. Michelle Bland as our gifted coordinator in elementary and Mrs. Jennifer Hart as the middle high school coordinator. Ms. Bland works the plan during interventions for groups of our students who need extension and enrichment, who don't have to specifically be in the gifted program, just if they're ready to move on. And she also meets with children after school. Mrs. Hart runs a Canvas page and works with teachers to differentiate the curriculum and works with students after school. But if you recall, this is actually the meeting where we used to introduce our summer regional Governor School students and their work over the summer. Unfortunately, we did not have a regional program this past summer because of teacher burnout. They couldn't get teachers to teach in Governor School because they were so exhausted from the school year. That hadn't happened before. So that was really sad, but the good news is we bounced back at our summer residential Governor School because Clive and Mrs. Rafe were able to work together to get Clive prepared and ready to attend as an instrumental piano student. So I think it's really important that we have Clive and Ms. Rafe here because a lot of what I've talked to you about this past year has been worrying about reading and math, and then now social studies and science. But I don't think we've kind of been forced into a situation where we haven't had as many opportunities to talk about music and chorus and vocals and instrumental and theater and band. And so those are equally important to many of our students. When we were working this summer to recruit for our band department, music in West Point is not just something we do, it's really who we are. And it sort of works as a triad to academics and to our sports and extracurriculars. So I wanted to use this time, if you will, to highlight Mrs. Rafe's important work, and as a result of that, the experience that Clive got to have over this past summer. So if you two would come up to the podium, we are happy to have you, and thank you for the work you do. And Clive, thank you for representing us so well. So come on up here. Yeah.
So I have a 3-page essay here that I wrote within the past couple of hours. So I will do my best. Good evening. I would first like to thank you for letting me take the chance to talk about my experience at Governor's School, which has provided insight into my future education pursuits. This opportunity gave me the chance to experience a college setting and explore deeper into what I was passionate about. So the application process was facilitated by the excellent assistance I received from West Point Schools, who provided me with the necessary paperwork I had to sign. The support from the school enabled me to be accepted for auditions and ensured that I was well prepared before then by providing information about the adjudication. On the cold morning of Saturday, 14th January, my parents and I drove out to Norfolk, where I was to audition for Governor's School. For the next 2 hours, I would be alone waiting for my group to be called and escorted to the elevator up into the corner near the doors to the audition room. I was second to audition in my group of 4. The adjudication process wasn't blind, and so I saw the faces of my judges. In contrast to my initial assumptions from past experience, they were very kind. They posed questions about my aspirations for Governor's School, to which I replied that the experience would help me improve in my chosen field and utilize and share my knowledge with others back in my school. Little did I realize then that this response would be a key factor in my acceptance into Governor's School. This would be my first encounter of the 2 conductors, one for the symphony and one for the wind symphony. 5 months later, on May 22nd, 2023, during my period in course on a Monday, I would unknowingly receive an email from the director of the Summer Residential Governor's School for Humanities and Visual and Performing Arts, because both programs took place at the same place in the same time. Although Dr. Hauser and Mrs. Rafe knew the Friday before, yes. And throughout the entirety of the day I was there on Monday, Ms. Rafe had waited for me all day to tell me about the news. It wouldn't be until 7th period that while I was assisting Mrs. Rafe, she would inquire if I knew about my acceptance into the program. And I found out. I definitely did find out. Immediately after that, I called my father to tell him, since my mother was at work at the time. In the lead up to the start of Governor's School in June, my parents and I would take considerable time preparing for my month-long stay at Bradford University, 4 hours away. Eventually, in the early hours of the morning on June 27th, a Sunday, we departed from West Point and arrived at the university an hour ahead of schedule. We unpacked my things and set up on my side of the dorm. The reason for this is because at about 11 o'clock that day, the line was maybe 100 people long. So I was very grateful to be there a little early. And then about after that, it was an hour before the afternoon when I said my goodbyes to my parents. And then from then until June 25th, I would be alone in a new place far away from home. The initial week was a period of adjustment, during which I appointed myself as my roommate and established friendships on the very first day after the opening ceremony later that afternoon. While classes did not commence the following day, the student body gathered together at Preston, also known as the Bondurant Auditorium, for the opening ceremony that I stated, and we familiarized ourselves with the campus. Additionally, we were assigned to our respective groups for the month, and I was pleased to be a member of Group 1. More on that later. In the ensuing days, I developed numerous friendships among both colleagues and faculty members. The week progressed smoothly, allowing us to acclimate to the structure of our classes. Surprisingly, there were 8 pianists in my category when we grouped up, despite witnessing an exceptional pianist during auditions. One of the highlights that I could give you was being given the opportunity to work with a top-tier digital audio workshop, or DAW, which was very educational and very enjoyable. So, again, and then Fridays marked open mic sessions where students would showcase their talents to the peers before ending the day at 11 p.m. These events were also accompanied by spirited group chants reflecting the high level of competition and camaraderie among students and their groups. The reason for the group chants was to give a group competition for a prize at the end of the program. And again, more on that later. Now, for the food, yes, I know, I'm sorry if I make you hungry. It varied from satisfactory to subpar. I'm going to be very blatant there. Breakfasts were consistent as we were provided by Southern biscuits, tater tots, chicken, sausage. However, lunches and dinners provided a daily mix of dishes ranging from delicious chicken already to essentially raw chicken. But we did have a very special July 4th barbecue. And the reason why I say raw chicken, well, it's quite hard to explain. So there's this saying called the Dalton Dash. The food court at Radford University is called Dalton. And most of their food is usually mediocre at best. And we were, I remember a lot of people got really sick. And we found out that it had been a recurring thing throughout the entirety of Radford. So it quickly became the Dalton Dash. And I actually did receive 3 times Dalton Dash. It was very unfortunate, and I was really homesick after that. But even though about that, another problem was the frequent miscommunication throughout the program. Although it persisted throughout the entirety of it, the overall experience remained enjoyable. In spite of that, we took a hot scavenger hunt across the Radford campus on July 4th, with the barbecue as well. And that, my group 1 is that. Movie nights, small competitions, and even a visit to the nearby cinema added to the fun. A group of 5 students and I bonded closely over the month, despite 2 of them being humanities students and the rest of us being instrumental students, which I thought was really nice. Humanities for the presidents and the humanities and the visual and performing arts collaborated really closely together because they both were in tangent with each other. They both worked together to unify the people, So midway through Governor's School, I did experience a bit of homesickness, but it did not overshadow my overall enjoyment. The experience of working in a college setting and assuming the role of a college student proved immensely valuable, reshaping my perspective from one focused on impressing to one driven by the pursuit of improvement. The 3rd week brought a heightened level of stress as a group of musicians, including myself, prepared for that Friday's open mic. Things turned out very well for us as we received a standing ovation from our colleagues that night. As soon as you knew it, my time at Radford University with friends and faculty was drawing to a close. The final week, known as the Showcase Week, was dedicated solely to rehearsals and performances of our respective showcases. I performed for the Wind Symphony for 3 songs and my piano quartet while witnessing the remarkable progress made by my fellow colleagues over the course of a single month. As Saturday, July 25th approached, it was time to bid farewell. The memories created during my time at Governor's School were cherished, and the rapid passage of time was bittersweet. The experience allowed me to collaborate with the like-minded individuals who shared my passion for the arts. And I didn't put this on here, but about the groups, my group won. I won the competition. And I wish I had brought it with me today, but we did receive a trophy. All 20 people in my group received a trophy. Certifiably best group of 2023. In conclusion, despite a few challenges and issues with scheduling and food, my time at Governor's School was a truly enriching experience. I wholeheartedly would like to see, in the future, be it far or near, others partake in these programs, and specifically the Visual and Performing Arts program, as its inconveniences were outweighed by the positive aspects. Thank you for listening to me tonight, and I wish you the best.
Copies of the upcoming dates for the year for the music department, if you guys want to pass those out, and in case anybody wants to join us. And my essay is not 3 pages long, but I do have to write down what I say because I am a talker, so I promise I will go. So my name is Melody Rafe, and I'm the chorus teacher here at West Point Middle and High School, and I have been for a very long time. I started in 1997 when we had concerts in our cafeteria, and then our music program got so big we had to move them to the gym. And people, I guess they didn't know it was a concert, and they thought it was a basketball game. So as we were singing, they would walk back and forth and try to get hot dogs and things. It was very interesting. From that time then until this time now, West Point has been nothing but completely supportive of the arts, and it shows. You know, we have a very strong reputation. I used to get calls from my colleagues, you know, are you leaving? Like, I'd like to have your job, you know, because it's very rare that you have a school where you can teach middle and high school together. So sometimes I ask my high school students, oh my gosh, who was your middle school teacher? And they're like, hello. So good and bad. In our district, for competitions, when we go to our state assessments, so our state SOLs, there's a cool thing that I wanted to share with you, because our football teams tend to play football teams from schools the same size as us. But in the music district, it's not like that. We have 16 districts in our state, and we're in District 1. We are lumped in with Richmond City, Hanover County, and Henrico County. So all of the huge football teams like J.R. Tucker and Deep Run and Atlee are our music competition. So a few years ago, they came in and said, our state people came in and said, you know, we'd like to redistrict. We're going to take West Point out, put them with, you know, Gloucester. And my colleagues wrote letters. They said, no, you can't take West Point out of our district because we're competitive to them. So when I say that we have students that have made district chorus repeatedly every year, that's a really big deal. You know, because it's like trying to play football against the, you know, quadruple A teams or whatever they call this. So one of the keys to our success in West Point is that in 6th and 7th grade, we make art students choose band or chorus. And I just wanted to bring up the importance of that for a couple of reasons. Number one, that is crucially important because in the 6th and 7th grade, you would never choose band or chorus if you were not made to do so, because it is scary. And if you don't believe me, come join any kind of chorus rehearsal, or, you know, and you know, even if you think you feel comfortable, you walk in, and it's a very vulnerable feeling. So this is really important to us for two reasons. Number one, it helps students find what they're good at and they didn't know they were good at it. Number two, it creates a climate for the other students. Even when they get out, if they don't continue to sing or play with our ensembles, they respect the arts. They know what it was like to be up on stage and be that nervous when they were in middle school. And so you see nothing but standing ovations from the rest of our students whenever they perform in front of everyone who's not in the music department. And how many schools can really say that? You know, it's kind of a culture for us. Anytime that you're dealing with extracurricular activities where you spend so much time together as we do in our music ensembles, you have an opportunity to help those students grow into excellent human beings, which I take very seriously. We consistently receive superior ratings at assessment. We have students that make area, district chorus, all state chorus, honors choir, and, you know, in governor's school. So I was thinking if I was going to speak for a couple of minutes, like, I wish I could bring my choir because they would have a lot to say. So I asked a few of them, what would you say about the music department in West Point? And I just want to read you a few quotes. These are from our current students right now in the music department. Music has always been a huge thing in my life, but this school really brings it together. While I'm constantly pushing myself outside of my comfort zone for auditions and such, I always feel comfortable in the chorus room. I've also learned my fair share of manners, respect, and kindness in chorus, and I don't think that should be taken for granted. Music creates solace in a stressful place, and I cannot imagine ever being without it. Music affects my life, and to an extent my soul in so many ways. It helps me when I'm writing, when drawing, when I'm doing pretty much anything. And having a class dedicated to something I love is so amazing, and the people in it make it a respectful and kind environment for everyone that's there. Even when someone may be really nervous to do something, the whole class is there to support them. Even when things may start out a little rocky when you're new, the upperclassmen make it a welcoming place. Music is extremely important to me. Chorus and the music program are, in my opinion, the most important aspect of West Point Middle School, West Point High School. Chorus is a place where everyone belongs, no matter if you're going to be on Broadway or if you don't know how to read music. Chorus has always been my safe haven, and more than not, the reason that I willingly show up to school. I will forever be grateful that the environment of excellence and welcome that exists in the chorus room. Most of my extracurriculars are chorus-based because I love it so much. The music, but more importantly, the people and the way I feel when I walk into a place where I belong. The academics at this school are great, but the music hallway is the place I feel is my home. Chorus to me is the most important elective you could ever take in West Point. Chorus has produced some of the best people in West Point. They have character, life skills, and they can carry themselves well in a public setting. Chorus teaches us time management, communication, teamwork, compassion. We are taught in chorus that we are a musical family. We have to be kind to one another because if we aren't, who's going to be? The life skills are being taught by working on a time schedule, such as preparing for concerts, after-school rehearsals, show choir rehearsals. We are always working together on music. We discuss questions among each other. We learn how to be kind to one another, regardless of where we came or who we are. I feel like chorus is a microcosm of the world, and I teach my students that it doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter how much experience you have. It doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter how much education you have, what your grades are like. When we come there, we are equal, and we have to figure out a way to come to that place. So to me, that would save the world. A couple of alumni. When I think back to the music department of West Point High School, the only word that comes to mind is joy. I can't think of a better way to learn lessons on collaborating, work ethic, appreciating what you bring to the table, and so much more. The department gave not only us, but the whole community the understanding that we can excel in fields and athletics and the arts. It's made us broaden our horizons, be meticulous in all of our work, and become well-rounded individuals. Between all the concerts, trips, musicals, cabarets, competitions, we grew up in a safe environment that allowed us to blossom. There was a sense of community among the music students that I never really felt anywhere else. Music is truly the universal language. The music department at West Point High School knows the vulnerability music invokes on its listeners. They use it, continuing to stretch past the furthest boundaries, infiltrate the deepest abysses, and heal the most broken spirits. That's an adult saying that, not an So Amy Spray in the Washington Post said, musical training has shown to lead to improvements in a wide variety of different skills, including memory and spatial learning, for example. In addition, language skills such as verbal memory, literacy, and verbal intelligence have been shown to strongly benefit from musical training. West Point has always known this. That is why it is valued in the school system, and that is why it is a huge part of who we are. In the New York Times, Joanna Littman said, multiple studies link music study to academic achievement, but what is it about serious music training that seems to correlate with outsized success in other fields? The phenomenon extends beyond the Math Music Association. Strikingly, many high achievers told me music opened up the pathways to creative thinking, and their experiences suggest that music training sharpens other qualities, collaboration, the ability to listen, a way of thinking that weaves together disparate ideas, the power to focus on the present and the future simultaneously. And so finally, now for a little education jargon when it comes to music ensembles. We were always the first classes to focus on PLCs and PBLs. Many students working together for one end goal. How do we get there from where we are right now? We were one of the first subjects to understand the importance of socio-emotional learning, and still do. Music ensembles help a student to experience cooperative learning, language, and social skills. Chorus and band will teach students how to work together, how to work individually, and how to work in small groups. It helps them understand their responsibilities as a member of a larger ensemble in a bigger world. And we are masters at differentiated instruction. the ability to pivot at any given moment, and also understanding how important the moments are when that shy young middle schooler who actually teared up when trying out for a solo is belting that song out on the stage for all to see when they're in high school. You cannot fake that kind of success. And I'm so blessed to have been a witness to what seems like thousands of those kind of moments here in the West Point school system. And also so blessed to work in a place that has always kind of, in my mind, created a baseball diamond of the importance of the arts, academics, and athletics. And I think that that is one of the reasons that we are so special, and I hope that that will be the reason that we continue to be so special. Thank you.
Thank you.
Small comment, I could attest to a lot. I could attest to it.
Thank you, Ms. Ray, not only for tonight, but yeah, we do understand the importance of music. All the extra activities we give our students an opportunity. It's nice to see that it translates to life experiences and live experiences like Governor School. We appreciate you sharing that, as well as sparing us the graphic details of the Dalton Day.
You almost didn't.
Yeah.
Thank you. We also, every other year, we do an alumni song at our Christmas concert called the Christmas Star. And if you ever come to our Christmas concert, it seems to me that every time we do it, more adults come up on stage. It's amazing to watch that, like, that it meant so much to them and that it still does. So thank you guys. Appreciate it. Thanks for the invitation. Thank you.
All right, reports. First up, Dr. Frazier, we have an enrollment report.
All right, I will be brief. In your packet, you will find our 10-day enrollment report. You will see where we started on the first day of school in each of our buildings. So we started on day 1 at West Point Elementary School at 3:53, and where we ended after the first 10 days of school was 3:57. You will see West Point Middle School High School started at 4:34 and then ended at 4:48. So they were up by 14 students. Please know that that is the hard work of our team, making sure that we're calling students, calling parents, making sure that folks remember that school has started, to make sure that everyone gets to school and gets to school on time. So then you can see where our projected ADM falls. Of course, as I always remind the board, I will never be able to tell you that formula that BDOE uses to establish that ADM. But when we look at our projected ADM, we're looking at a current number of 805. And then you can see what our actual numbers of students in seats. There we can count our preschool. We don't count our preschool in the actual ADM because it's different funding. And so when we look at the actual numbers of students in seats, and this was as of the 10-day count, this was 334. You will see a slight difference. I think it's two student difference in the enrollment report that's in the informational section of your packet. That is because we did lose 2 students, but we do believe that we will be pretty steady with our enrollment. Also, just as a reminder, our budget was built on 782, so this is looking good for us, and we hope that these numbers stay steady throughout the remainder of the school year. Any questions regarding enrollment?
What's the exact number of our preschool program?
The exact number?
Yeah,
So
does that align with what we thought?
yes, ma'am. So originally we were anticipating, Ms. Dr. Hauser, we were anticipating 16.
Well, we were anticipating 31, but we have 29 in our total preschool program. For the 3 separate programs together.
That's not just
Right.
Right, that's the 3 separate ones together.
So that includes our BPI, that includes our early childhood program. We know that that's our students with disabilities, and that also includes our IPOP students. Our IPOP students are those students that are typically developing students that are placed in our special education program, preschool, for some positive mentors to those students. So we're looking good when it comes to enrollment. Any questions?
All right, next up we have a facility study update. Mr. Bauer has joined us. Mr. Bauer, good to see you again.
And I do want to thank Mr. Bauer. You all know that we've been working on this study for quite some time. Mr. Bauer met with our team last Tuesday. At our meeting last month, we shared some preliminary information. Then last Tuesday, Mr. Bauer met with our team, provided some sketches and some other updated information. Mr. Evans participated in that meeting with his construction background, and so we appreciate that. And then on last Thursday, Mr. Bauer came and met with Mr. Leach and myself, and then we also did another walkthrough of the building. So he's going to now share quite a bit of information with you.
Thank you, Dr. Fraser. So I have some tough acts to follow. I don't have any great stories about going to the bathroom. And clearly I missed the orange and blue bow tie, so I'll make sure the next time I have one with orange. Great, well, thank you all. I do appreciate it. We're going to give an update today. So keep in mind, this is still in progress, because again, this is a process. We will continue to come up with ideas and see concerns, and some of them get addressed as we're going through the study, and some of them will be an ongoing piece. So, is it possible to put the...
Yeah,
yeah. Can I go? Oh, look at that. Tonight, this will be relatively brief. We are going to talk a little bit about enrollment and projections. We're going to talk about the facility condition index, which is kind of the analysis that we use to kind of assess the buildings. We're going to talk a little bit about the draft capital improvement plan, and then some potential projects based on conversations that we've heard and some concerns that were voiced. So enrollment projections. This is probably one of our least favorite things to do because there are so many pieces to try to map out enrollment. So one of the things that we first start with is trying to understand your community. When in the actual full study, there's a ton of demographic information that we pulled together, looking at everything from income to birth rates. And birth rates are an animal all by itself because it's when folks are having children, or if they're adopting children, change over time. And so one of the things that we map out is are folks having children in their 20s, in their 30s, and the 40s. I had my children in my 20s. Colleagues of my age are also having their kids in the 40s. So it really does become variable. You can't say, well, this is childbearing age, because there's not really such a thing anymore. So again, as part of the overall study, we're going to provide, which is something that should not be unfamiliar to you, the kind of demographic profile of your community, looking at everything from income to birth rates. How does this translate to enrollment? So the good and bad news is that it's more good than bad, is that your enrollment for students here and also for tuition have been relatively flat. And that is not a bad thing at all, because that helps you to manage. We have some school divisions that are growing 10% every year, and they are building buildings every year because they don't know what to do other than that. The other side are the divisions that are seeing industry shut down, and a decline in population, and what that. Can you come back to me? Sorry. So what happens now is that they have buildings that are empty. So the good news is that with your enrollment being relatively flat, that is a good thing. That helps you kind of manage your facilities the way that they are. Now, one thing that I do want to point out is that in discussion with the town, that there are new houses coming in. So you maybe have already seen this. So there's already 4 in construction. There's 11 in different parts of review, and then you also have a development that has about 40 homes that, while they don't have a projected date, they're saying within the next 10 years they're going to build those. What is difficult to project is that going to bring 54 children, or is that going to bring 2 children? That's difficult to say. Typically what we see is smaller single-family homes. Townhouses tend to bring children, whereas $10 million homes tend to bring less. But that is not an absolute. But just in case you didn't know this, that there are new houses coming to your community. The other factor, and this is probably the reason why there's many reasons why enrollment is difficult to project, is that you have turnover. Okay, so as our population is getting older and folks say, hey, I want to retire to Florida, even though I would retire here first, but they want to retire to Florida, so they leave, and a young family moves in, and now you have 4 children. You're like, wait a second, I don't have the 4 kids moving in, and you can't say, we're full, we can't take you. So So there's things that are outside of your factor. So enrollment projections are difficult, but it's probable that you're going to see an increase in enrollment over the next 10 years. It is very probable. So keep an eye on enrollment, keep an eye on a bunch of factors, but that is something to keep in the back of your head as it may probably happen. Any questions on that before I move forward? Okay, Facility Condition Index. This is a nationally recognized way to assess a building. And what this is basically there's 5 points. So the more things that you kind of see in red, are things that need to be addressed sooner than later. Things as you see the yellow and the green and the blue are further out. I want to start by saying that your administration and your facilities group do a fantastic job of maintaining your buildings with the dollars that you give them. And I really, truly mean that. They're doing a fantastic job. The buildings look great. What that does from a handful of things. One is that it's keeping your building longer. Your teachers appreciate the space because it's a nicer space. The students tend to love on the space and be less disrespectful, when you give them nice buildings. So your facilities group and your administration is doing a really, really great job with the dollars you're giving them to maintain the building. With that being said, stuff wears out. They'll have homes, the roofs start to wear out. That at your elementary school, it was time for it to get a little bit of love. Windows, things will wear out over time, HVAC, plumbing. And so what our teams did is did a full assessment of both the elementary and your elementary middle, getting really, really good ratings. So what we do is from this chart, which is we're still kind of finalizing the numbers, both on the elementary side and both on the middle high school side. We'll provide the full assessment as part of the final study. Is that now what we start to do is to help you with a capital improvement plan. So now what we can do is group this by year. So from now until 22 or 25, or now until and then 25 to 30. What projects may you want to look at doing over that time? And that can be everything from replacing toilets to doing accessible upgrades to window replacement, security upgrades, things that are going to start to wear out, and when is it probable that they would start to wear out. This does not mean that you need to do it in the time frame. You say, hey, we hear you, Josh, we see it, we're doing this in 2020, 2032, but we want to do it now. Great. That's entirely your option. What we're doing is just providing a recommendation, and what the assessment on the cost could be is based on the school. So you can see here that we have the 24-25, which is recommended as something that would be upcoming, going out to 2029, even further going out to 2034, and then even further out almost to 2038. So these are things that, as we saw, this in 2038. Oh my goodness, can you believe it's 2023? I just had a conversation with a board member who replacing a roof on a building from 1990. And she goes, Josh, why are we replacing a roof on a brand new building? I would love to think that 1990 is brand new. But so it's as we get older, we're like, hey, it's not that long ago. But 2030 is going to be here before you know it. So this is what we would recommend. So a couple things it does for you is help you to plan. Now, if you do a larger building project, some of these things are going to get absorbed into a larger building project, if that's something you decide to do, whether it's in now or in 10 years or in 20 years from now. This also helps you to, as you're talking with the town and saying, hey, we have a roof replacement, just to do with the elementary school. We have at the middle school, high school, or we have this window project, or we want to put a walk-in box at the high school for the refrigerator. And so as you're, as a town is trying to manage their finances, and they're saying, hey, we have our own capital projects. Now this, you can share this with them and say, these are things that we want to do. So as they're doing their borrowing, or if they have cash available, that helps them. And the towns and the cities and the counties love when you can help them by saying these are projects that are forthcoming, so they can plan their finances accordingly. It is a great symbiotic relationship. So we're still working on the draft capital improvement plan, and this is based off of the facility condition index that was developed between the engineering and the architecture team. So before I hop to the next thing, is there any question on the facility condition index or on the capital improvement plan? It is still in draft form because we're working back and forth on what things. So here's an example, is that in the kitchen at the high school, you have 2 walk-in freezers, and no walk-in refrigerator. So in the kitchen, I think there's 8 different stand-up refrigerators, which is great. Your food service group is doing a great job. One of the concerns that we heard was that it's a little snug. Big guys like me, I have a hard time getting around spaces. So the kitchen staff said, hey, it's really a bit snug. It's not unsafe, but it's a snug in there. So if we were to look at, instead of buying additional boxes, do we actually buy a refrigerated walk-in box, kind of remove the standard ones that would actually automatically give you some space in there. So for a couple $1,000, you could do a win-win. Get more control, get more cold storage space, and get more space in there. So the capital improvement plan is really key because we want to try to be logical on how we make decisions. And not invest in something and then 2 years from now, you replace it. Another example is there's some stained ceiling tiles at the elementary school. Well, we don't want to go and replace those before we do the roof because they're just going to leak again, and then you're going to have to go back and replace them. So we want to help you with a domino process to make sure you're doing things in order, and you're doing them within what you can in your budget. Does that make sense for everybody? So let's talk about a couple of potential projects. So the elementary and the middle school are really well maintained. We heard a lot of positive from teachers, from administrators. The students were all smiling, especially the ones that were in gym class and then going to lunch. So there's a couple of things that you may want to look at. One of them is renovation of the administration area, and so this could be an improvement of the reception area. Perhaps have a little bit better view from the reception area out to the parking lot. And also a little bit better connection to the secure vestibule. Improving the nurse's room. Your clinic is just a tad a little bit on the small side, so maybe we could make some small adjustments for that. Keeping your principal, assistant principal, and also having a conference room and a toilet room for both staff and also for the parents to visit. How awesome is it when a parent visits a facility? Those of us that have big mouths and small bladders, you immediately get there and you're like, okay, where's the bathroom? So if you have a public toilet that's right there, then you don't have to wander through the building. So there's some recommendations that we can make some small tweaks in the administration area and make it much more functional for both staff and for visitors. Another thing to look at is doing some grade groupings for the classes themselves. Lumping kindergarten together, make sure that all the first grade and second grade and third grade classrooms together. So you've done a great job. As you've seen a little bit of an uptick in enrollment, there may be a third grade classroom that is a little bit different than location. So what can we do to do a little bit of shift? It doesn't mean you have to spend money. Just maybe looking at maybe some moving around classrooms to kind of get some little bit groupings better. If you were to look at the possibility of an addition onto the building, there's not many places that you can. On the back side, you have your loading dock, your playground. On the plan left side, you have your middle school, high school. There is some room on the plan right. So if you're facing the front door on the right-hand side between the school building and the playground. So there's an opportunity. You actually have 2 doors where you could connect both of those doors and put classrooms. And that could be anything from 2 to 3 to 4. I think we're showing 7 there. We're not recommending 7, but this is an opportunity for you that you could do this in phases, or you could do this all in one big lump sum to add classrooms. A couple things that this could do for you is, one is get a little more standard size on your classrooms. You've got some really great large classrooms, and you have some ones that are a little bit snugger. So this could be an opportunity to take and create some classrooms and maybe repurpose some of your smaller classrooms into other functions, whether that's small group, maybe that directs some exceptional education spaces, or music and art. Do you take 2 of the smaller classrooms, blow out the wall in between the 2 of them, and make that now an art classroom? There's definitely some opportunities that you have. As you look over at the gym, you kind of have to walk a little bit either through the gym to get to the pre-K, or through one classroom to get to another. Could we take and maybe move pre-K and K to the front of the building? What's really awesome is if we can get the smallest legs. Those of us who appreciate that, the smallest legs close to the door, so they don't have to walk all the way to the back of the building. So there's definitely some tweaks that don't have to cost money, There's other things that we could look at that could either be, they could be phased in at a later date. But these are some opportunities that we saw as we were looking at the building itself. Any questions on this? Okay. So now we'll look at the middle school, high school. So we're looking at two things. Everybody's sitting down, so it's good. So let's we talked a lot about arts, and I love the arts. So let's talk a little bit about athletics today. So you have a beautiful stadium. One of the things that you may want to look at is the opportunity for having a field house type facility with some public toilet rooms and concessions and some other spaces. You're doing great with what you have. So we want to look at it two different ways. The first way is a possibility of doing it in addition to the back of your high school. So let me show you the site plan here. So what this would be, so you can see your stadium here with your all-weather track. The parking lot is the bottom right, and so this would be basically expanding on from your current gym. We could look at doing a new gymnasium along with locker and team rooms, possibly repurposing your existing. So let's go back to the possibility of repurposing your existing locker rooms into a larger fitness weight room facility, taking your main gym now and making an auxiliary gym. So this has been a very successful path in many school divisions all throughout the Commonwealth, is looking at having a gym and an auxiliary gym adjacent to one another. If you have a sport or any other type of event that you want to have the ability for two gyms, so JV and varsity can both practice, whether that's wrestling or basketball or volleyball. If you have a regional event, now you can utilize both of the gymnasiums. If you have graduation, as another example, with your current gym, it's a little snug when you're looking at graduation. In a new gym, you could fit over 1,000, maybe 1,200 people in the seats, plus the seats on the floor. So as we're looking at this, and this is a sketch, is look at the possibility of having a new gymnasium, new locker rooms and tea rooms, and they would have really kind of the L that you see there is a J. The J that you see there would have the locker rooms, the team rooms, the men's and women's toilet rooms, and the concessions could have access both on the outside and on the inside. And the goal of that is, if you have an indoor event, a basketball, volleyball, graduation, is that all these facilities can be accessed from the inside. You can also lock those doors, and when you have a outside event, a football, soccer, track event, that you can open up the doors on the outside and allow the outside to go in. So you're not building a separate field house. We'll talk about that in a moment. This really does create a hybrid facility that gets the most bang for your buck as you're spending your dollars. Another thing to look at is the possibility, if you see in the top, is that there's 6 classrooms. This could be an opportunity to have maybe a school within a school. These could be either middle school or possibly high school classrooms, maybe 9-12, to kind of be able to separate and have, maybe your middle school classrooms are over by the media center, by your library, closer to the administration, and then your high school classrooms are going to be a little bit further out, but maybe for the core classrooms kind of have a little bit more of a separation, of the space. And again, these are only concepts. This is not a design. These are just some thoughts that we had of potential that would add value as if we're looking at doing a field house, could we do something like this that would really get the most bang for your buck as an addition to the high school? So just some images of what this could look like. So this could be standing in the main commons with your auxiliary gym to your left-hand side. This is your existing gym that we turned into our aux gym. And on your left-hand side would be your main gym. So this could be a wonderful opportunity. We're actually doing this right now at Amherst High School, where we've created the main commons, that is kind of in this area to be the student fame. And this could be anything. This could be a celebration of sports, football and basketball and volleyball, but also it's an opportunity for academics. This is a space for the students and for the community. And how often is it where your community doesn't know, just like we talked about, is that the community doesn't know all the great things that you're doing, and so this is really a great opportunity for celebration of all of the accomplishments of the West Point Public Schools. So these are just some sketch renderings of what the space could look like. looking at the gym, a new gym with glass, so you can see a lot of daylight in this space. So it's a really great opportunity for all of your different events, whether that's public or regional events. Looking at the auxiliary gym, so this would be your existing gym kind of repurposed. And then on the outside, what you can see there is concessions, the boys and girls locker rooms, team rooms, and then also your storage. I've been doing schools now for 25 years. I have never once heard say, we have enough storage, Josh, don't worry about storage. Whether that's book storage or athletic storage, that is always the first thing is, please give us more storage. So this is, saying we're looking at this having the outdoor and indoor space, it really creates a great opportunity. So this is the attached version. Now, let's talk about an unattached version. So a freestanding field house that would be on the outside. So this could have concessions, team rooms, your toilet rooms, ticket booth, your trainer's room. This would be a freestanding building. So going back, the high school parking lot is across the bottom. So we would have a sidewalk that would connect that, and then the sidewalk that would connect the building, and also your grandstands. So this is just a shape, of a building. So what's nice about this is that you would have both men's, women's toilet rooms, along with your family toilet room, locker rooms or team rooms for the students. The one thing that we strongly encourage is that these are team rooms. So that means whoever's using the stadium, that's their space for the day. It's not uncommon for them to be like, hey, that's a really nice space, and for a group to move into that space, and now you don't have that. So highly recommend, don't make these locker rooms, make them team rooms for everybody, whoever's using the stadium itself. This would include concessions, your tickets, and the possibility of having a weight room as a alternate for the structure itself. So if you wanted to expand and repurpose your existing weight room in another space, that would be an opportunity. And one other thing is, I said I would try to be short. Is, I guess this is the story of my life, but is at the high school is looking at a renovation of your administration. So a couple things you have with the high school administration is that we could kind of repurpose some of the space, move the lobby, your reception area, a little bit closer to the front door. That will have a better view of the receptionist to see folks coming up to the front door. Along with kind of moving the security garages a little bit differently. We could also move the student services, the guidance, from the remote location and put them close to the admin. So this could be admin, your clinic, and student services all in one space. What this means is that we would look at taking one or two of the adjacent classrooms, and that would be part of the reason why we would look to expand classrooms. Is we would, in order to be able to do this, we would take one or two of the adjacent classrooms in order to make this happen. I said what's nice about this is that you would have everybody kind of at one home. You have either front door. Parents are coming to pick up your child if they're not feeling well. They're coming to the same location. If they're coming to drop off a lunch box, or so everything is happening at that main lobby, and you don't have parents that could potentially be wandering through the building, or visitors. So there's a lot of positives looking at doing this renovation. So that is currently where we are. So these are just ideas. So we're still continuing to work on the facility condition index, on the capital improvement plan. Part of this was to give an update and to kind of hear feedback on, are there things that you would like us to continue to explore? Are there things that you would like us to not explore any further? And so that way we make sure that we're giving you the best product that we can for what you've asked us to do. Okay. Any questions, comments, thoughts?
I think it looks nice. Some exciting things there. I was glad to see some mentioning of a new gym, because when I was just reading the report, it said, "Oh, the floors look fine." I was like, "Oh gosh." I definitely think we need to be evaluating spaces we have, what spaces we need, and seeing the confirmation that we do have potentially 54 new homes being built in the next 10 years. I like to err on the side of caution and make sure that we have enough space for all the potential children that might come. So helpful, thank you.
Yeah, Josh, thanks for definitely coming tonight. We appreciate the partnership along this journey, trying to right size, get where we need to be. Will any part of the study, do you currently, is it in scope to look at green space from an athletic standpoint? From this, you know, are we maximizing our green space for fields, things like that? Or is that more of a, hey, that's probably dependent on if you go the route of a standalone or a standalone field house versus adding on?
You mean as far as play fields go, or, yes, we're looking at the overall site and see if we can kind of do some studying around to get you more athletic fields in there, and great, all of these are factors of, it's A, B, C, or D, or A, C, and D. Right? But yes, we are looking at that, because one of the factors is if you look at, sorry, I keep going to the site, is that if we did this, it would have an impact on one of your current fields. And in any community, athletic fields, regardless of what the age is, are absolutely critical. Both of my daughters, and actually all of us have played sports all the way through, and they help both of my daughters go to college. They're both on academic scholarships, as which so I'm a huge fan because my daughters are really big with me, and so it's great. It's great having. It's supposed to do so many great things. It's an opportunity for individual development. You understand how to take leadership. How to receive direction, to be a leader on a team. Like there are so many positives to it. So it's but yes, we are absolutely looking at that as part of our study.
Great.
Kind of piggybacking on that, are we sort of looking at it from a master planning perspective for the civil design as it relates to the parking, infrastructure, some of the fields right now, some stormwater issues, just as a whole, we're looking at the civil aspect too?
Yes, so I know there's some challenges with your baseball field. Is it baseball or softball? Maybe it's both. That you do have some. It's on the brand side, so you do have some stormwater issues. The other factor is that if we were to look at any expansion at all, you also have to increase parking with that. So as an example, if the gym now becomes your highest amount of space, as far as the number, then your the ordinance is going to require us to add parking. Plus, you want to do it anyway because if you're going to have more people, you want to have more parking. So yes, we are looking at the overall site as a master plan and see what you can do to maximize that. Dr. Fraser, is anything I missed in my?
No, I think you've done a good overall update on where we are, especially noting the changes to the main office space or the administration space in both buildings really is about the safety piece, and so the safety of our students and our staff, but also keeping in mind that expansion. It was great to have Mr. Evans on the meeting the other day. He knows that construction lingo, so he's able to help us with all of that. But board members, if you want to see us go in a different direction, if there are different things that you're looking for, I would say that you please share those things with me, so then I can reach out to Josh and let him know. We will take the same information and do an update at our town ed committee meeting on Thursday, just to keep town council abreast of where we are right now. Let them know that none of this is final. This is just where we are in the process. But if there are other things that you all would like to see and other things that you all want us to be able to address, please let me know.
The price tag is frightening. And not that I hadn't read about other schools, but the price tag is really, really frightening.
Price tags in general are frightening.
I mean, truly.
They are. We are in a uptick environment, and we continue to see. We are very shocked every time the numbers come in, and so it's part of this is what we still want to do is give you numbers that are on the conservative side. To only turn around and say, oh well, we said it's going to cost $5 million, but it's really going to cost you $30 million. That's also that's not fair to you to get your hopes up and then be crushed. So we're trying to give you realistic numbers based on other projects that are bidding, and say this is what we think the factors are. So, but yes, numbers in general are higher than I've seen in my career.
And so I've had some of those conversations with the town manager, and in our monthly meetings, we've been talking about some of those pieces, the financial side of this. We've also have done some, had some conversations and meetings with the town's financial planners. So they are also involved, and we'll also be looking at any grant funds through BDOE and school construction, any literary loans. So the financial piece is definitely at the forefront.
Yeah, on the finance piece, yeah, I get that. I think the first thing we need to do is assess what we have, what we think we're gonna need. Like that's what's most important to me, is making sure we've got the best facilities to continue to be excellent. I think it's gonna take a community movement and community investment, because that's what it is, right? It's a community investment. It's not a school renovation. We did that when we built the auditorium, when we built the track. And so I think it's gonna take awareness, it's gonna take marketing, it's gonna take everything to make this happen, but we need to do it. And I think it's, this is the first step. So like I said, we appreciate the partnership.
Whatever we can do to help let us know.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Have a great night.
Okay, next up, we have some items under study. Dr. Frey, it looks like we have various policy updates. Anything in particular we want to call out?
So yes, item A, we do have our policy updates, and please know that this is the first read. I've gotten some email communication from 2 board members, and so that's what we want. We want to be able to get the feedback from board members, and also to make sure that we get a consensus to know the direction that board members may want it to be able to update policies based on the recommendations that have come from VSBA. Please never feel like we have to adopt it the way that VSBA puts it out, but let's work together and get a consensus as to how we want to move forward. Got some email concerns today from Ms. Sturts, and I responded to her and let her know that I would also reach out to VSBA to get some further clarification on some of their recommendations from a couple of the policies. But this is just your first read, and so I'm not asking that anything move forward tonight. Just continue to provide me with the feedback, and as I get information from VSBA, I will provide that to the board members.
Any questions?
No, can I just publicly state, and for your all benefit, what my questions and concerns were, so you guys can ponder it over the next month. So policy BBA, school board powers and duties. The VSBA, which y'all know I'm not a fan of, has stricken out 3 essential duties of a school board: working with the superintendent to devise, approve, and submit to the appropriating body an estimate of the amount of funding, yada, yada, yada; to stay fully informed about the operation and progress of all division schools and programs to ensure compliance with laws; and to review its performance annually to ensure proper discharge of its responsibilities to the community. I, for the life of me, cannot understand why that would be stricken. There's no Virginia code that's been updated, nor why any of us up here would agree for that to be stricken. Those are 3 essential duties for us as a school board, and we have a responsibility to the community, to the school, to our teachers, to our students, to our parents, to maintain that. And it was shocking to me when I read this. I can't believe that this was even something that they proposed. And then they added 3 things that really seem like the responsibility for a superintendent or principals or head of nutrition, like ensuring that the information sheet on SNAP benefits gets to each student, ensuring that fillable free and reduced meal applications are sent home with each student, and ensuring that a back to school night event to which parents and enrolled students are invited has all of this stuff available to them. How would I, as a school board member, be able to ensure that these things get into the hands of every student? I'm not in the school on a daily basis. I don't make copies. I don't have access to this stuff. I mean, this is bizarre. I think this is probably one of the most bizarre recommendations from VSBA that I've seen. So that was my concern with that one. The other one that I've posed a question about is GCE. They've stricken out the description of these different types of part-time teachers. So homebound teachers, part-time teachers, summer school teachers, interns, student teachers. It's completely stricken from this, and it doesn't appear that it's been moved to a different file or policy. And so I'm concerned, well, do we not have a need potentially for homebound teachers? Do we not have part-time teachers? I know we allow for student teachers, and we should be wanting to have student teachers in our building. So that was my concern with that one. And then the last, I think it was the last one I had a concern with, maybe not. File IKF, the second to last bullet point, they have stricken as an option. Instead of passing an SOL test, they took this out, meeting the criteria for the receipt of a verified credit in history and social science by demonstrating mastery of the content of the associated course on an authentic performance assessment that complies with the guidelines adopted by the Virginia Board of Education. So as a history teacher, and y'all might not be privy to this, but as a history teacher, I know the state of Virginia is moving away from SOLs in history and social studies and moving to performance-based assessments. In fact, I have one in 3 weeks for my students. So I don't quite understand why the VSBA would recommend us taking that out as a qualifier for students to be able to graduate. Like, doesn't make any sense to me at all. And I guess I have one more. Oh, this one was not a big deal. The school admission file JEC, we need to come up with a date. How many days are we going to allow for an appeal for a student with admission issues? So those are my concerns. Maybe y'all have others. I hope you look at what I just said and review it for next month. We should all be taking our duties up here very seriously. We shouldn't let someone usurp our duties, especially an agency that has their own clear agenda. If anything, this shows the VSBA is not a source that we should really be using for our policy. 2 of those were egregious, absolutely egregious. And they should have their finger on the pulse of what's going on in the VDOE to understand that performance-based assessments is what's coming down the pipe. And all of us teachers in the classroom know that, because it's been drilled into us. So those are my concerns. Thank you.
Action items. First up.
Yeah, we have some more policies.
Oh, other policies. Okay.
So then we also have the DOE model policies for ensuring the privacy, dignity, and respect for all students and parents in Virginia public schools. Please note that I also included the two memos from the state superintendent, which also clarifies guidance on adopting the policies and the school board's role in adopting these policies, and also the recent opinion from the Attorney General. And I had a question from Mr. Evans earlier today, and this is the exact policy that comes from the administration, from the governor and VDOE. And so the only thing that we had to do with this model policy is add West Point to it. So this is the policy that has been proposed. And so that is also in your packet for your review. Are there any questions about that policy? As a leadership team, we had met to discuss things, to discuss the policy. Dr. Hauser has also met with our school counselors to talk about the policy and the policy moving forward once adopted by the board, and things have already been put in place as our practices based on this based on this new policy.
Let me just I just want to clarify. So you're saying the policies that we already adhere to in our school system already comply with these model policies? Is that what you're saying?
No, what I'm saying is that we are already going by these new policies that
Okay.
the board is going to adopt.
Okay.
Because it has been clear by DOE and the state that this is what we should adopt. And so
Okay.
we're moving forward with parents having to provide written documentation for things, names and all of those things. We move forward with that. So we just need the board to just formally adopt this policy so we can move forward.
Because we wanted to be consistent for the school year, we didn't want to start the school year one way, so the counselors and I met over the summer to establish parents' right to know and our protocol procedures that we would be ready when the policy is adopted.
Thank you.
And there's one more, Mr. Jenkins.
All right.
Dr. Hauser, did you want to share anything about the sexually explicit materials policy?
Well, that's my area. No, just kidding. This is a regulation, so it doesn't give us, great room to decide what we should do. So we've already begun discussing this, on how we're going to make, how we're going to make a determination about what's explicit and what's not, and how we're going to make sure we have it on our website for parents to access. This is a regulation that will be approved, that's being told for us, what to do and how we will follow it. So, and also they're providing model policies as well to make sure there's consistency across the state. So we've already begun the work because, as you know, last year we started talking about it and having these conversations. So.
Any questions? And if there are questions between now and the next meeting, feel free to shoot me an email and I can provide any feedback.
Did we assess our current policies within these guidance to see if there was any gaps?
So with the sexually explicit policy, a lot of that information was already there from the last update, and so we're just able to add on the procedures piece, which ends up being the next layer of this, which talks about the notification, which talks about how things can be how a list needs to be created so parents know, and how principals are then responsible for letting parents know if materials will be taught in class.
And materially, that's what we were doing.
We were not doing that before, so that's what's new. Those are the pieces that are new.
And with the BDOE model policies, did we do an assessment on our current policy?
We did not do an assessment on the current policy. The policy is presented exactly the way that it was presented from BDOE. An assessment was not done. I verified with the attorney what the expectations were with accepting the policy, and then also going by the opinion of the Attorney General and BDOE, and just said that it would be my recommendation to the division that we follow what they're recommending.
A lot of reading to do between now and next week, right? All right, now action items, right? All right, first up, we have consider approving our expenditures and receive our revenue reports. A motion to approve expenses and receive revenue.
So moved.
A motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Duly seconded. Any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the motion carries. Cafeteria expenditures. A motion to approve our cafeteria expenditures.
So moved.
Three there. We have a first, we have a second.
This is the first.
Mr. Lee, you're the referee here.
Let me see who did it last month. First, you did the motion last month, so you're gonna start.
Yeah, was there a hired? Okay, Ms. Reeves, thank you. other discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
And just know for the cafeteria, we will have, I will invite, Ms. Osborne here, next month to do an update, on school nutrition and address some of the concerns that we might have for school nutrition.
All right, so that motion carries. Next up, personnel. Dr. Frazier.
All right, personnel, Mr. Leach, hold on with me, okay? All right. So it's my recommendation that the board adopt the resignations, appointments of instructional staff, appointments of support staff. No, I'm gonna wait for you.
Okay.
Resignations. B, appointments of instructional staff. C, appointments of support staff. And E, appointments of supplemental assignments. That's my recommendation for this first.
Okay, so we have more.
We're gonna do those first.
All right, so this, we have resignations, instructional staff, support staff, and supplemental assignments.
Yes, sir.
Do I have a motion to approve as recommended by the superintendent?
So moved.
Do we have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? Not all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Other personnel recommendations, Dr. Frazier.
And separately, it will be my recommendation that the board approve the appointment of coaching staff.
All right, we have a motion. Coaching staff. We have a motion for coaching, sorry. We have a motion to accept recommendations for coaching staff. We need a motion. Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is second. Is there any other discussion?
I just want it noted for the record that, I object, vote no to specific position varsity cheer.
So the motion is to accept the coaching that's submitted. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All that oppose. Motion carries. Mr. Leach, do you have what you need for the record there?
Hope so.
All right. Now you go back to the tape. Okay.
And lastly, yes, I can say it. Lastly, I would be my recommendation that the board accept item F, which is the volunteer assignments.
We have a motion to accept the volunteers as presented.
So moved.
A motion, we have a second.
Second.
Second. You good? Yep. All right, any other discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
That is all
That
the
is all the
personnel.
personnel. Okay, thank you, Dr. Frazier. Next up, we have nice list of donations. Motion to approve the donations.
So moved.
We have a motion, we have a second.
Second.
We have a second, any other discussion on donations? If not, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Next up, Dr. Frazier, consider approving our indoor track program.
Yes, we had information on the indoor track program, and we discussed at the last meeting that we just needed to bring it to the board for an official vote, to move forward with the indoor track.
All right, we have a motion to approve track program.
So moved.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Second. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, motion carries. Consider approving the advisory committee recommendations.
All right, so in your packet, you will see that we have, the list of advisory recommendations. This list is probably the first round. Once approved, we then ask folks if they're willing to serve. But these are the first group of recommendations that are made. So after folks say if they will serve or not, we will then more than likely have to add additional names. So those names will then come to the board as well.
Round one. We have a motion to approve the advisory committee recommendations.
So moved.
We have a motion. We have a second. Second. Any other discussion? All right, if not, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
So folks in our office will start tomorrow contacting these folks. And then from there, we will also solicit additional names from the community. Just like we did last year, we put a link out on our website. We had principals to put a link in their weekly school newsletters to solicit additional names, and then we'll add additional names and additional recommendations to the board.
So I asked you in the email about, is it possible for us to be on the committees?
Historically, board members have not served on committees.
Okay.
If there are certain committees that you want to serve on,
I mean, I just think, a better way to hear what people have to say directly and to be part of the process. It's just a thought.
I'm not against the thought. The only committee the committee that I would not want board members to serve on is superintendent's advisory. That is the time when staff has their opportunity to meet with me. And so that is definitely a committee that I would not want board members to serve on. But if there are board members that want to serve on committees, please feel free to shoot me an email or let me know. You're welcome.
Got our informational items.
I don't believe there's anything different in the packet for information.
One thing that I would highlight is the November meeting will be Wednesday, November 15th. So that was a change because originally we had definitely Thanksgiving, and the closed session will start at 5 o'clock. And then the December meeting will be Thursday, December 14th. And that starts time will be 3:45. That's usually when we have staff come and present their budget requests. And that will be at it says SBO in your packet, that will be at the middle school, high school.
Alright, Thanksgiving is still here on the 15th, and December will be at the school.
Correct. Those are not Tuesdays.
Right.
So those are already advertised.
Wednesday and Thursday. Alright, next we have delegations. Alright, first up, Laura Shute. Mr. Schute's gonna speak, okay? You have 3 minutes per topic. Just let us know who you are, where you go.
Thank you. My name is Will Shute. I live at 1090 Thompson Avenue. So I'm here tonight to talk about the marching band. So an incident happened about 2 weeks ago at a football game between a faculty member and students. Now I'm not really going to talk about that because I wasn't there. I'm going to talk about what happened afterwards as a parent. So after that event, later that following week, the band director called for a parent meeting. Didn't say what it was for, just said we have to have a meeting today. So we show up, And basically what I saw was a teacher being completely belittled and her authority squashed. She profusely apologized for something that I don't even know what happened. And she did it in front of all the parents and all the students in the band. Now, if there was some kind of school policy or procedure violated, then that was an internal issue, and that is none of my business. That's an employee-employer matter, and however it was handled, it was handled. If she was to apologize to the students that she had the interaction with, that's again, that should be a private matter. That should be something done behind closed doors, almost like a parent-teacher conference. But the fact that she did this in front of everybody, me as a parent, I look at teachers as the ultimate authority in the classroom. Now, she's a band director, and her classroom might be at the football field with marching band. So she's responsible for every one of those children. Because if a parent comes to her and says, I need to get my child and they have to leave early, and she doesn't know where they are, that's a big issue. She's ultimately responsible for every one of them. And that's what I understand from secondhand knowledge, is that's what happened. Some kids had left unexcused, whatever. So the problem was she apologized profusely, but as far as the school, and I don't know if the school asked her to apologize, made her apologize, whatever, but the school never thought it was important enough to tell me as a parent of a band student what happened. But it was important enough for her to send out an email at 8 o'clock in the morning to say we have to have a meeting at 6 o'clock tonight. Now I work until 6:30 every day, so I had to go up early, because if a teacher says we need to meet, and it's like the same day kind of notification, then I figure it's important. But it was so important for her to have a meeting, yet it wasn't important enough for the school to tell me as a parent what had happened. That is upsetting to me, because I have seen family members as teachers, my wife is a teacher, and I've seen them and heard them talk about how time and time again, teachers' authority and respect is pushed off. Whatever the parent wants, the parent gets. Whatever the kid wants, the kid gets. It's not about educating the kid. It's not about, making sure that they're being responsible adults in the future. It's about placating them right now so that they stop complaining at the behest of the teacher's respect and dignity. And I don't like that. I don't like that at all. Now, you're always going to have those kids that are troublemakers. There's always a troublemaker in every class. And I know some of the kids that were involved in this incident. And I've worked directly with those kids in other issues as far as scouting, church, and other community events. And I can tell you those kids have always been issues. Always. And the fact that Ms. Thompson is a new teacher just leads to them pushing buttons and pushing buttons and pushing buttons. I'm not excusing her behavior, whatever that was, but at the same time, I can understand frustrations get the better of you sometimes. But I just think the way the school handled it, by putting her in the spotlight and doing that in front of everybody, was not right. I think it should have been done in private. I think the school, if it thought it was so important, again, to have a meeting, why didn't the school send home a letter? There was an administrator at that meeting. I don't know who that person was, but I know that they were an administrator. They never introduced themselves. They never said anything during the meeting. And when we left, all I got was, thank you for coming, have a good night. I don't know who that person was. But they were there too. I was hoping that they were there for moral support, so that if a parent became upset or unruly, that administrator was there for support for the teacher. I'm hoping it was not a boss supervising their employee to make sure that they did what they were told to do or had to do for the situation. So again, I grew up in a family full of teachers. I married a teacher. I've seen in the course of my lifetime where teachers were respected to the point where today teachers are just told to shut up. And being that my son is in marching band, he sees this stuff. And he saw what happened. And he didn't even think it was important enough to tell me about it. Because apparently it was no big deal to him. But yet we had meetings, apologies, so forth and so forth. So I just hope in the future that when something like this happens with any teacher, that there's more transparency. Because I've seen firsthand at a football game where football coaches yell and berate football players on the sideline in front of hundreds of spectators. And I would almost imagine that not one football coach has ever had to apologize to the football team in a public manner. I've heard stories about the predecessor for the band director, that sometimes he would lose his temper and raise his voice. Not once did I ever see him apologize to an entire room of parents and students. Not once. So why was Ms. Thompson to do this? It just didn't, as a parent, it didn't sit right with me. Because I have too much respect for teachers and what they have to go through on a daily basis with 20, 25, sometimes even 30 kids in a classroom. And they're responsible for every one of those kids. And all it takes is one kid to start acting up, and the other 29 might be angels. One kid acts up, and that kid gets away with it. And the next time, 2 kids act up. They get away with it. Then 3 kids act up. And then again, the teacher is told, work with the student, work with the parent. Where's the accountability for the student? Because I saw Ms. Thompson apologize. She said she was out sick. There's rumor that she was on administrative leave. So obviously she was disciplined. I've yet to hear any discipline for those students. Now she presented the rules and expectations for the marching band. And she said something to the effect of, students might not have known the expectations, so here's what they are. Every kid knows what the expectations are, whether it's in the band or in the classroom. You don't do what you want to do, you ask permission from the teacher. And so the fact that she was using that to potentially give the kids a free pass, again, those kids that have been in marching band, they had those same rules when Mr. Camacho was the leader.
Mr. Shootman, you're at 3 minutes.
So I thank you for your time, and I just want to say that I support West Point Schools and the teachers, and that's why we live here, West Point Schools. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shootman. Next up, Mr. Kirkland.
Ron Kirkland, I live at 286 Ogden Street. I have 3 or 4 things I'm gonna try to touch on real quick. First of all, Mr. Shoup is 100% right. You should listen to him. What I know about that situation, I think, that's a learning opportunity for the administration and staff. Last meeting, we passed a policy from VSBA that gives the superintendent the opportunity to spend money however he wants. Larry's a good guy. I don't think he probably deserves that much freedom with spending money. Ms. Shreves, you mentioned that you were, the numbers were horrifying, right? And it's probably that $18 to $22 million number. And that is a shocking number. But every year, you have a budget that's what, 10, 11, $12 million? And the school board just gave away your fiduciary responsibility of oversight of financial matters. Mr. Frazier literally could take $75,000 from this line item, move it over to transportation, go buy a Mustang at the new Ford dealership, and that's going to be the superintendent's car to drive with. I'm sure Stephen would be very happy about that. And I don't think Larry would do that. I'm sorry, Dr. Frazier. I don't think. The point is, if there should be some discretion and moving things around in line items and buckets. It can't be an unlimited thing. There should be a dollar amount. Anything under X. And whether you decide that's 5,000, 1,000, 500, I think that would be a wise move to eliminate yourselves from financial oversight. And superintendent does as they see fit that's not good policy. So enough of that. So I'm looking at some of this week's stuff, or this month's stuff, that 63.2801 SNAP benefits program. I don't have a lot of heartache about that, other than it's one of those odd recommendations from VSBA. If you dig into it, it talks about political subdivisions shall implement those policies. Well, if you look at the Virginia Code on what's a political subdivision, it's counties, cities, towns, boroughs that pass ordinances, rules, regulations that have the effect of law. So, does the school board have the effect of law? I don't think so. I mean, if I speak beyond the 3-minute limit, you can't put me in jail. I question how we're receiving those things from VSBA and even the VDOE. Those are recommendations, they're not mandates. I don't know what that VDOE policy is you talked about, but you don't have to take it up. Those are at your discretion. You can choose to or not. You can choose your own language. You're your own constitutional body. I encourage you to act like it. In the presentation on facilities, we talk about adding classrooms, things of that nature. Before all of our taxes just went up. Mine are almost double. Before we're deciding how we're going to spend tax money on facilities, we should look at, are we building extra classrooms to accommodate tuition students? Or are we doing that for the people who live here? I understand the importance of that mix of local residents and tuition, but before we build new things for people that aren't paying into our local tax base, we should really look at the mix of tuition and local kids. To include class sizes. When my kids were in elementary school, I went back and looked. The biggest class size was 17. The school division at that time had a max of 18 per class. That's now increased. K through 2, that's Mr. Frager, Dr. Frager, sorry. K through 2, it's 20. I think 3rd grade, it's 24. 5th and 6th grade, or 4th and 5th grade, 25. That's too many. Chase, I think you have kids in elementary school. Your kids don't get the same education my kids did when they're in elementary school. Just because the teachers I had, there were less kids in the room. It's easier to teach less kids. And I think as we're looking at enrollment, again, we have to look at, are those the right numbers? Do they need to be smaller so we can do a better job in the classroom? And that's about it.
Thanks, Kurt. Mr. Diggs.
Mr. Chair, board members, I can speak with some authority that these chairs are way less comfortable. That does not mean any desire to sit in those chairs anymore. I know your job is difficult. I'm sorry that Clive left. I want to give him some information that there are universities across the country that have dining halls that have DASH after them. And my university was in Territory Hill. I do want to talk about the model policies. I'm a little disillusioned that it seems like that's a done deal. This division, I know, has had ad hoc or formal model policies in place for years, and there have been no issues. These model policies, and I know the Attorney General has written a letter that you have in your packet, that's his opinion. I'm giving you mine. It's not any different. If you adopt them, you might be the third division in the Commonwealth to do so. There's 133. You don't have to do anything. These model policies are punitive. They're based in politics. They're looking for a policy solution to a problem that does not exist. You have policies addressing these issues that are working fine. Now, there may be some tweaks that you can make that are not punitive, but one that really disturbs me is you're going to codify, if you adopt these as written, you're going to codify the ability for any staff member in the building to belittle or disrespect the children in the building because they don't understand them or don't agree with their position in life. That's wrong. It's simply wrong. When I was sitting up there, and we had this issue, my touchstone was often, it's just somebody else's kid. It could be your kid. It could be your sister's kid. It could be your grandchild, which is my fate in life, I hope. Would you want your kid treated that way? I don't think so. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Diggs. Mr. Hastings.
Mark Hastings. I live at 993 Chelsea Run. And I just want to talk about the VASB recommendations. It sounds like, and especially the budgetary, it sounds like that's a done deal. I don't know, but if it is, I'm really disappointed. You guys are our representation for, in between us and the school, and I feel like, if we give away that representation, I think that's a very dangerous step to make. I think this is the VASB, in the past few years, clearly not happy with the rising voices of parents through the school board. And I think they've made some highly questionable recommendations in the past few years. So I think this new batch of recommendations raises it to a new level, in my opinion. And it diminishes my opinion of them even more. So I'm highly dubious of all of these new recommendations. I need to dig down a little bit deeper into what is said, but on the surface, it's I'm strongly against it. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Hastings. Future agenda items, we have October budget calendar, capital improvement, strategic plan update, presentation.
And so hopefully before the October meeting, we will have a session with Dr. Baker to finalize the strategic plan before the.
And that's something you need to get dates tonight.
No, we don't have dates tonight. The leadership team is meeting with them on Thursday.
Okay.
So we'll meet with them on Thursday, we'll get his availability, and then we'll be back with him. We'll reach out to him.
All right.